It's hot, and it's going to be slippery. The conditions right now, they have never experienced on this track. Go out there, feel it out, and just start putting some laps in, see how consistent you can get.
Well, they're about to go out here, and all eyes will be on those Ducatis right across the board, because during the break we heard from them that they're going to provide a little bit of a surprise. Well, we had winglets, we've had the hammerhead. Jules and Keith, what would you call this new Ducati appendage? Has it got a name?
The Hoover, I think, from my point of view. Looks a bit like a Hoover. Nothing very dramatic, that's for certain, except visually. Lorenzo's keeping it, though, for this session. Petrucci, who has also tried one out on the Pramac bike, he's not.
This morning, and didn't make it directly to Q2, Keith, so whatever it did for him, it wasn't helpful.
It probably just unsettled him. It just gave him a feel that he hadn't had enough time on it. That's all there is to it, isn't it? Trying it, really.
He really wants it for next week, because he thinks it's vital for safety. His words. At the Red Bull Ring.
We'll see. That's next week. Haven't got long to wait, ladies and gentlemen. Red Bull Ring is immediately after, weekend after this one. For the Austrian round, we're looking at Cal Crutchlow now. He took an almighty crash earlier on today. Never seems to bother him, but I can assure you it will do. Underneath all of that hardened exterior is a man that still hurts like the rest of us. So
Keith speaks of what he knows at the moment.
Well, previously, right now, there's nothing to worry about. As we look at the 99 of Hawaii Lorenzo. Thanks, George, but slightly embarrassed by your sympathy, I suppose, is my only answer.
That's the effect I was aiming for.
Thank you. 30 minutes of FP4 then. Good time for Lorenzo to do a long run with that new aero design on the front of the thing. What would you call it, everybody? Well, Craig and I have had a bit of a stab at it. Why don't you have a look at it and tell us what you think at BT Sport MotoGP. You can give us a bit of a...
There we are.
Stands it up. It's funny, Alex Lowe's, 2-time Suzuka 8-hour winner, was with us a little earlier on today. He's here at trackside today, and he was out wandering around the service road. He is quite good, actually, to get right the way around the track and take a look. And he said that if you don't look at the timing screen and you watch Jorge out on that Ducati, he said he looks just like Jorge. Pinpoint accurate, smooth as ever. Of course, the times have yet to come. We'll wait and see. A hard front and a hard rear. Marc Marquez is trying out. This is what FP4's for, isn't it? Because this will be at around the time that we've got a race tomorrow, won't it? Let's have a look here. Yeah, 1:30. So if the weather is similar, this track, we were told, was up to 50 degrees just before the last session that we saw for Moto 3. So maybe this track is in the outer limits of acceptable temperature for the heat through the tyre, and so Marc Marquez has gone out to try a hard rear on. Julian is scanning Twitter like a man possessed here.
I am. I'm looking for a couple of things about the Ducati fairing. One, if you've seen the Judge Dredd film, there is a certain resemblance to the motorbikes involved.
I've seen a few...
And that, Keith, is my favourite, that I'm about to retweet. There's a couple of milk crates slung up the side of the front wheel of a push bike.
No, that's a bit unfair. I like that. It was the Stormtrooper, is it? One of the
I think the thing it most
sci-fi
looks like,
films.
think of that giant fish, the basking shark, with the gills.
Yeah.
It looks like that to me.
I think it's a bit more Darth Vader than that one now that they've filled in those fins. But anyway, we'll wait and see if it does anything that's of any use, because I've got to say that all these Ducatis went pretty fast here during yesterday's FP2 anyway, without the assistance of any extra wingage. The drama surrounding that extra appendage, I must say, was anything like a film.
No, Keith's not buying the basking shark analogy at all.
Basking shark doesn't do it for me, but the guppy, could be a guppy.
Guppies are pregnant.
There's a guppy. Looks like my old grandma when she had the glasses on the end of her nose.
That's better. That's better.
We're getting a thumbs up from next door, are we?
Either way, it's radical.
Doesn't matter if it works. And you know that Gigi Dall'Igna took it personally when they banned his wings, and they were working diligently on them, and they spent a fortune on them. This is supposed to be for cost, of course. It will have cost them a whole load again of testing in air tunnel, in wind tunnels and the like, to try and make this work. But it is, when you compare it with the Honda and the Yamaha versions, it really is a radical extra bit of wing on the front to make this Ducati work.
It is narrow top section of the fairing.
Well, it can only be 600 mil in width. It is the standard size of a washing machine. That's the
Overall
outright limit, as in the rules.
I'm talking about the width at the bottom of the screen where the handlebars are is really quite narrow. There are no handlebar covers at the top.
That's what they've done. They've had to... down has gone. Iannone. Well, he was looking feisty yesterday. He was looking feisty this morning for a moment or two.
He did. He was fifth fastest in this session.
You really wouldn't want to be chucking it down in FP4 because you're out fairly soon after this one.
And you're testing, aren't you? This is testing stuff, race. Maybe the first time you run a full tank.
It just seems to be all over the place to me, Iannone. I can't quite
agree with you.
Work out. Doesn't seem to be a pattern to either his mood or his performance. So can't quite work that out from afar here. I'm sure people closer to him know better than we do, that is for certain. But yeah, getting back to they narrowed what would have been the traditional part of the fairing right the way down so they could get those great big wings within the width. Danny Aldridge, look at the lean angle of Marquez there. Sorry, I had to get across myself there. I had to interrupt myself for that one. That was incredible.
Folger, having been quiet-ish yesterday and this morning, has come out with both barrels.
125 Grand Prix winner here. Moto 2
winner here. Winner in dodgy, tricky conditions here.
He's a man that we all thought, I mean, you got your cards on the table fairly swiftly on Folger during the week, didn't you, with an each-way bet for him, and absolutely concur with that.
Yeah,
especially coming off the back of his Sachsenring performance.
Exactly, we came to that opinion quite separately, by the way, but you didn't...
Yeah, we would have argued about it if we could have.
Yeah, but we couldn't.
Dani Pedrosa in front of Valentino Rossi.
The accepted wisdom so far this year is when we've gone to tracks where people have tested, then those people have had a pretty significant advantage.
Well, Honda then.
Repsol Honda here 2 weeks ago.
Valentino's running hard front and hard rear, yellow-banded Michelins as well. So it seems like they've all gone out to try this hard rear and get some mileage on it in FP4. Of course, this is the first time that they've been on track with the track temperature as high as it is now, and that is critical.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry, I looked across at Julian's Twitter.
Twitter Dragon Botherer. Yes, good name. Who has sent me... This, reminding this, and he sent me a picture of a face on sort of a hamster who's obviously got a lot of stuff stored in his cheek pouches.
I should have thought of that. We've got a hamster at home that always looks like that.
Yeah.
Like a Ducati.
I'm going to retweet that just for the sake of it.
The menagerie has a hamster in it, and I have seen one pose in that way. Hasn't everybody that's got children got a hamster? Pol Espargaro on the KTM goes fifth, getting to more serious points.
Both Espargaro brothers have been very feisty here so far.
And this one on the Aprilia.
Well quick this morning.
Oh! Turn 13 and he dumps it on the deck. At least it's at pit lane, so he hasn't got far to push it. But Aleix then jumps off at the top of the hill.
It's as tricky as this track is really sneaking up on people.
Really sneaking up on people, Jules. I've been trying to think of a word that might just work with a description for this track today, but it has confounded riders and teams all day long today. I've never seen anything quite like it.
I haven't found a Michelin person to talk to yet. I'm going to try and do that.
They're hiding.
They may very well be
if
behind the truck just wondering what's going on, like the rest of us.
Let's even that up. If you're going to find a Michelin person for an explanation, you better find a Dunlop one as well, judging by Moto 3.
Agreed.
You know, it's not just Michelin. It's been everybody. It's just a track that is not giving the grip that we all thought it might. Look at the lead angle, though. And as he taps that front, it's already
takes
gone
the weight off the front.
Takes the weight off the front, and his arm comes out, spank.
That could just be rider optimism, that. However,
believe in yourself, it says on the back of his helmet.
Just having a read of that, Keith. New engines in the Aprilias this weekend.
Just ground a few bits off of that. That's not a major worry.
It didn't flip, did it?
Yeah, new engines. I read your tweet earlier when somebody asked if they're on equal bikes, Sam and Aleix. I don't believe they are. They might have the new engine upgrades, but there's quite a lot of difference in chassis still, aren't there? Hasn't Aleix got some different swing arm in his?
All I said was new engines.
Oh, right. It was the word yes, I think, that confused me. But I must say that Aleix is riding it really, really well. And he is team leader. And even Alex, that was in here earlier.
Yep.
He actually said, well, look, that's the way of things. That is how it should
Alex
be.
Lowe's is an extremely realistic and sensible lad.
There's the man that's been getting some flack off us.
Yeah. Well, off a few people. I think the Italian press were...
He's in a really difficult position.
Isn't he just?
You know, Aprilia expects.
And there isn't like Pramac tend to do. They throw contracts around and every year we've offered this bloke, offered him, and when you ask 2 days later, no, we've sorted that.
Withdrawn it.
Yeah. There was a certain
Crutchlow. He's the
tendency
man.
to drama.
This man last year gave us a lot to cheer about.
Oh.
35 years on from the last time that the Premier Class winner was British. This man did it for us last year. It was very clever riding, very clever tyre choice. And then he went and backed it up with another one later on in the year. I mean, that just, you know, Cal Crutchlow, if he never did anything else ever again.
Yeah, he is.
He deserves all the accolades he gets for that. He's having a tough weekend here at the moment, though, isn't he?
Very. His first rostrum came here on the Tech 3 Yamaha. But yeah, we talk about the Pedrosa Lorenzo dice.
Yeah.
The man who was third behind that dice was Cal Crutchlow.
Crutchlow goes fifth.
Good man.
Hard front and rear tyres as well.
Yep.
Everyone's trying that hard rear. I haven't seen that out quite so much as...
But as you said, this is
Race
hopefully analogous to race conditions. This is the time of day. Sort the clutch lever out.
Yeah, Lace is back in the box. They won't need telling. But you will anyway. Marc Marquez, turn 14 onto the front straight. Plenty of rubber going down now as well, so there should be more grip out there. If it wasn't such a warm day, there would be more grip out there. Into that infamous turn 1, 195 mile an hour, back down the gearbox into what? Third gear, I think this one is, all the way round. Long wait for it. Marquez showing... well, I'm looking at the side pods, not the lean angle.
Yep.
You can just see the side pods full on here. It's like the Yamaha, just got that kind of gill effect.
Yes.
Sucking in the air in the front, and then just little strakes in there.
Little veins or
strakes
strakes in there.
Yeah. Strakes of its aero, isn't it? I think they're called the long thin.
Yeah. If they're longer
than they
are wide, they're a strake, not a wing. That is the
general terminology. Right, we've got a soft front tyre in there, I thought, on Dovizioso. Is it a white tyre, a white rim tyre? We'll find out because he'll go quick.
all combinations.
Well, they've gone right the way through, haven't they?
Yeah.
Of the tyre availability.
Not surprisingly, Keith, that hamster picture as the Ducati fairing has gone berserk. It's been retweeted everywhere.
It's got the R factor attached to it, hasn't it?
Yes, and there's one Danny Pet rodent joke I'm not going to repeat.
Alvaro Batista caused a bit of havoc earlier on today, when, or rather Ethan,
Not least to himself.
The bike sprung a leak, and he managed to hang on to it till he got to the gravel trap, fell down, but then immediately after him, so did two others. Very odd conditions today here at Brno. Plenty coming up here on BT Sport this weekend, all live as usual.
Indeed, Keith, the race for Moto Grand Prix, if you just want to look at that live, 12:45 you need to be in front of your telly with BT Sport 2 selected. High definition as well, of course. Just remember, this is free practice 4 you're watching now. It is just a test session. This does not count for anything towards
although
the
it isn't,
qualifying
it's,
sessions.
as normal goes, it's quite an interesting test session, isn't it? Because we've had such tricky conditions. So to see them out there trying out those rock-hard rears, I mean that in the best possible way, of course.
Yep.
They're not a throwaway tyre. They might be the tyre they have to use. So they need to get some mileage on it.
And this is what they're interviewing. He is not, generally speaking,
that's why.
cooperative.
That's why, if you knew him and you could, you know, if you were a friend of his, you could work it out. If you'd been around him for a long period of time, you might be able to. I told you a couple of years ago, I had
on the plane.
The misfortune to sit next to him on the plane, and he was like a petulant child. He was sort of every turn of the page of the in-flight magazine was thrown over, you know, and it was. He twisted his hat around and he fidgeted in his chair. I didn't dare speak to him. He was in the worst mood.
He has a reputation to sometimes and watch Jorge Lorenzo's entry speed on the factory Yamaha into that corner. Well, you can stand... Oh, that's Johan's run on.
He's made a couple of mistakes this weekend
Yes.
so far. I mean, he's sorted himself out there, but he did that at turn 3, was it, earlier on today?
Yes.
He ran on, you know, he just made a bit of a mistake on the entry, like he has here, and completely missed it, and just ran himself on wide. So, Lucio Cecchinello getting involved now in the discussion with the doctors. And
Ooh.
Dorner as well.
And if the doctor says...
You aren't riding, guess what?
Yeah.
Does the doctor know what he's dealing with then?
He's the doctor. No, not that doctor, the other doctor, lowercase d. That was confusing, wasn't it?
Not half as confusing as when it said Valentino Rossi's crashed.
And we were looking at him.
Yeah. But then when I saw Alex Briggs actually taking a deep breath as well.
You thought your medication was playing up, didn't
Yeah,
you?
and you thought his was as well.
Yes. Valentino on a very nice one. Those are softs, aren't they?
Yeah, I think they are. Front and rear, so he's gone for a... Mind you, fact is you've also got to know what tyre you're going to run in a few minutes for qualifying. So sticking a couple of worn softs in there
May very well be...
you know, it's a good tactic, isn't it? He's tried out the hard one, so he knows whether they're going to work for the race. Now he's going out for some softs on there.
to work out what happens in Q1, Q2. Rossi third quickest in this session.
Yeah, he's going to want to know that, all right, that's for sure.
Jorge Lorenzo very quick through the first half of the lap. We're on board with him. Stays fourth.
I'm not convinced yet.
By the fairing or Jorge?
Well, that is the combination.
Jorge likes it. He sees potential. And I'm certain he does.
They're going to design a wing like his eyebrow. Only a surface area to keep your front on the ground. You just wonder what that's based on with Jorge. I mean, it's got to be feel, hasn't it? I mean, but it's still got to translate though to time.
Yes, which it isn't doing yet. He's losing. He says he's losing it on the straight because it's
That's a shot. Man with a fag in his mouth out the back of shot.
I know.
That's so old school.
That
Isn't it?
is an old school Brno photograph.
That really
Yeah.
is. That could have been back in the 1960s. Not that we were racing on this track then, but you know where I'm going.
Your first overseas Grand Prix was here, wasn't it?
The second ever Grand Prix that I did was here at Brno on the road circuit.
Year? 82?
1980. Going back to 1980. I'm fairly sure.
When were you on the roster at Silverstone?
81.
I thought that was your first Grand Prix.
No.
Ah. No. Thank you. I was under a misapprehension.
No, the first Grand Prix I had was in 1980, I'm fairly sure. Arnie Fletcher supplied us with a 350. Hello, head office. He's the new man.
General Manager, Technology Development.
Hell of a handle. He can't get it on the envelope when you write to him.
That is a serious... there's a trio of HRC bosses who...
Yeah, I mean, HRC, Honda Racing Corporation.
They've new chassis, or certainly handling related. It appeared to improve the area in which they're already really good, corner entry.
Yeah, I think
but did not address the problem.
I think the fact that the boys have dismissed it virtually and stayed with what they've got, and they're looking towards that chassis for next year maybe. You know, it was a development that didn't quite do what they were looking for.
That's what happened last year. And HRC said, no, we're sure our sons are right. Mr. Crutchlow, would you be kind enough to
go with this?
And he won 2 races with it. So there is just... Oof. How do you do that?
Well, if I knew I'd be doing it.
Yes. Or would have done it.
Would have done it, yeah,
Yes.
that's the point.
Alex Rins 10th.
Yeah, but again, 157.2. Let's have a look and put that in that wonderful context. 157.2. 56.7 is what he did this morning. So I think that although the leaderboard in this FP4 is relevant for FP4, we don't quite know what they're doing and setting the times on.
I know, but you always make this assumption, Keith, or I did. There is some sort of race test. There is a full tank. There we go.
Absolutely.
It is.
Absolutely.
So I deserve the right to be impressed by Alex Rins on his comeback from injury.
But then you see somebody like Rossi that's gone out and soft front and rear tyres. You know,
I know, but
it's
just let me be impressed by Alex Rins.
because Rossi's gone out. Yes, of course. I mean, not taking that away from anybody. But you might have seen Rossi might have wanted to go out and feel what it was like for qualifying.
You made exactly the right point. That you've got to, never mind race tomorrow, what's happening in 20 minutes.
Got to get yourself in that front couple of rows of the grid, haven't you? 56.4 for Rossi at the minute.
I see.
What do you see, Jules?
The Keith Hewen Grand Prix history.
Blimey. Who's been printing that? Has that Timothy been printing?
It has. Your first Grand Prix was in 1979.
Oh yeah, that was I'll tell you what that was as well. That
It was a 500 as well.
It was a 1.5 350 Yamahas. It was a three-cylinder bike.
The bike, saw it in half and bolted on.
Yeah, well, it was welded on, but anyway. I know where you're going.
I'm slightly glad to hear that.
Then Manchester Motorcycles made a 500cc bike out of 1.5 350 Yamahas. And the thing was fast, but we had to have this tank made that was the size of a 50-gallon drum because it sucked fuel through it faster than you could tip it out the can.
Regulations were slightly laxer in those days.
They were very lax indeed.
You did 2 350 races in 1980. Britain and West Germany, as it was. And in 81...
Well, that would have been on the Nürburgring then, wouldn't it?
Yes, it would have been.
On the full course.
That would have been the showdown. 1980, was that Mang versus Eckerholt?
It was.
81, you did Austria, West Germany, Assen and Silverstone. And in the 500s, you also did Spa and San Marino. Well.
They were all sporadic because remember, back in them days, it was such a privateer thing. It was self-funded. You didn't have the kind of situation you've got now. And I mean, you go back to the Continental Circus that was before us even. You know, it was very much a privateer run, sleep in the back of your van type
argue
situation.
For your entry.
Well, I asked Mr. Finley that when I used to argue for my entry.
No, I've got time.
FP4 continues, and we shouldn't have time for it. It was a long time ago, and these are the boys that are doing the action nowadays.
I'm still going to say 83, 84, that looks like full season's a bit factory.
83 was a production 500 from Suzuki. 84 was the RS 500 Suzuki.
We don't talk about
Honda that basically sent me to the wall.
Yes, not nice.
All part of the plan. Good fun.
Enough of the Hewen history. We just have to make sure you remembered your first Grand Prix date. Which entertainingly you got wrong.
Yes. Yeah, I had forgotten that. That was the one where I think George Fogarty held up...
that was the great one, yes.
Yeah, it was the mega race between Roberts and Sheen, and George Fogarty was the one that, I think, thankfully it wasn't me.
Enough of the history. FP4 is drawing to a close, with Marquez, Folger and Rossi the quickest.
Frankie Carchidi talks to Carol Abram, who suffered the wrath of Marc Marquez earlier on today, or confused Marc Marquez, and he decided to have a long look into his eyes to try and work out what was going on out on track.
Not sure Carol is too bothered. I've seen Carol Abram walk into Casey Stoner's pit for an argument. So he's not, despite his very nice manners and all the rest of it, he's not a kid you can intimidate.
He's been in this paddock for a while, so knows how to deal with it.
Seriously impressed again with Jonas Folger.
Scott Redding. Let's have a quick look at
midfield,
him.
11th.
Yeah, I'm just wondering his time. 57.2. Redding 56.9 he did in FP2 yesterday. 57 almost dead in FP3.
Coming back from the awful time he had in Sachsenring, and with his future in doubt, Keith, it's tricky.
Indeed. I don't think there's anything else we can discern much from FP4 in this session. Of course, we've got qualifying for the MotoGP guys coming up in just a moment. Marquez looks like the man to chase around Brno. We'll find out very, very soon.